begin. So this is, I'm next. I get the second spot, so I have to follow Charlie, which is a bit difficult, isn't it? So I'm just going to go through. This is going to be quite different. It's quite personal. Indulging in a lot of secrets. They're not saucy, so don't worry about that. But there's going to be a lot about my work and what I believe. And I'm a very negative person. I think there'll be quite a lot of you that are negative as well. So you'll sort of understand where I'm coming from. So this is me, a portrait of the young man as an artist. So I flipped the James Joyce novel. And this is me doing my best Twombly impression when I was about 4 or 5 years old. Not a girl. Thank you, Sam. So who am I? And to give you context. So Justin DL. I'm Justin J.D.Lawson, but I didn't like my name so much, so I squeezed it together. I was born in Scarborough. Left Scarborough as soon as we could, but then I'm back. So 2005 to 2008, I was at York College. I studied my A-levels, theatre, film and art, and I did my foundation course there as well. 2008 to 2012, I was at Newcastle University studying my degree, and in 2011 I did a Erasmus study in Krakow. It was the Academy of Fine Arts, and I did lithography for 4 months. I'll explain later on what happened with it being 4 years, because normal degree courses are 3 years, but mine was 4 years. 2014 to 15 was York College again to do my teaching, and 2015 to present, it's kind of a job. I'm a resident artist at Crescent Arts. I'm sure a few of you are aware of Crescent Arts and its existence. It's great. Please go. So Crescent Arts and my particular work are sort of starting to make work. Now, what I would say is, based on the stuff here, to give you a bit of context to it all, saying that my foundation was pretty much the only way I got into Newcastle University. Newcastle University is a top university now. When I applied to go there, it was in the top 10, and without my foundation, I definitely wouldn't have got in. And also, just to highlight the idea of studying abroad, before it becomes more difficult post-Brexit and all, please, if you get the chance, study abroad. That's my advice. So this is a bit of my work, and it's kind of strange because there's no context to it whatsoever. But I've sort of gone through my work and started to criticise it. Start to analyse these things. Can everyone hear? Am I right? You're going to go and kind of see. So I started to criticise my work, or just sort of read into it a little bit upon reflection. So this was quite an interesting process because I've not done it for a while, and you might be looking at that going, well, what is it? Where's it come from? But to give you a proper explanation, I have to go all the way back through my degree and my studies up to this point. So this is what actually is on the Crescent Arts website. The piece is called Pixel Dad, and it was taken from a photograph of my dad when he was about 14, 15 years old, and it was a school photo. And I don't know if you can tell, but he has like a pretty impressive mullet in the actual original photograph. And what I will say is about the sort of tag of lax period. The lax period is a sort of approximately 3 years where hardly any work was made. What I will say is 2012 to 2014, in terms of art, I left my degree and realised that I wanted to pursue art as a career. But there was no studio. I didn't get a studio until March 2014 with East Street Arts. Does anyone know about East Street Arts and their existence? So with East Street Arts I got a studio that was set up by Salt and Powell, who were York St John Uni graduates, and I had a studio with them in Acomb, York. So I wanted to pursue art, but obviously it was quite difficult not having a studio, so with the luxury of having a studio, make sure that you take full advantage of it. But the job thing as well, it's always a difficult one, trying to work and have the life-work balance at the same time. So I was working and I was volunteering. Basically when I left, I really wanted to pursue a career in teaching because of the environment that we had at Newcastle University. It was a really critical environment, participating in lots of talks, critiques, and it was something that I really enjoyed. And so I wanted to seek that feeling again, and I could do that through teaching. So I volunteered with Millthorpe School in York. I was at York St John's University with the final year students. I volunteered here as well in 2014, and I volunteered with Magnetic Arts, which is a non-profit organisation, to work in like art therapy, so young adults with autism and whatnot, you know. Doing tutorials and all those sort of things. I also worked with Helmsley Arts Centre for Radio Festival. So I had all this experience over the period of 2012 to 2014 where I was just gathering experience for a PGC. So I was pretty committed to the idea that I was going to work and then get somewhere and eventually here I am, that sort of thing. So yay, success, that's fulfilled. So goes back to the pixel bar. So this is what it says on the website at the moment, the statement. My paintings meticulously prepared and achieved explore digital manipulation programs and their influence on the concept of the artist as draftsman. The paintings seek to reclaim the importance of the artist's hand at work. Previous work, paintings, drawings, and photographs are all viable options for digital manipulation. Once edited, these non sequitur images become paintings in their own right, expanding the previous collection of used material. So my work has moved on since then, but it was really predominantly at that period about this. This painting is the only painting that I painted from 2014 to 15, the only one that actually exists from that period, the lax period. I'm over the lax period now, so there we go. To give you context, this was my degree show piece. So I left the degree and had a lot of ideas of what to continue with. So it was kind of like a jigsaw. So there's lots of things that were involved in this piece of it. There was a filing cabinet with 947 drawings. They were all in series. They were all labelled best to worst. There was documentation photographs of pieces of work and performances. And they were on rotation. There's a video. And there's paintings. And then on the back wall there was also a replica studio wall that I'd made. So this doesn't make sense either, because I'm showing you what I finished my degree with. So first of all I have to explain what I did to get to there, and then travel further back in time. It's quite a confusing chronology actually, so I hope you do make sense of it. When I was in my second year, at the end of the second year, there was a little bit of a discussion with me and my tutor, and he effectively said, go out and collect stuff. So I pretty much took that literally and spent the summer of 2010 collecting things, and that was pretty much the family archive that I made. This was scanning negatives, scanning photographs in orders, and also scanning my mum's sketchbooks. She did drawings from 1974 to 1975 based on her interest in horses. So we had a conversation about this, that everything in the archive was transcripted. So I went through all 2,000 photographs that were scanned, and I was talking to my mum about it. Just like, oh, what's this photograph about? And I also went through the sketchbooks as well. So there's all these horses. Basically, my mum explains that the only way that she knew what she wanted to do and how she would gain that knowledge was by drawing the things that she wanted to study. So my mum, learning through doing, she would draw horses and then start to learn all the features of the horse. And that was her sort of ultimate goal, was to become someone who worked with horses, and she did. One of the main things I would point out, actually, this is sort of a romantic idea about photographs, is that my mum, when we were going through the archive, she always used to say there was never a photograph that ever existed with all of her siblings. And I went through all of the negatives that I could find, and I found this one. And it is of her twin, all of her siblings. So I found that and re-exposed it, and that was a piece of work that I did in the first term of my third year. This sort of overwhelming nature of actually collecting stuff meant it was quite hard to force an idea out there, so just making things based on the photographs and what the material did was the first sort of thing that I wanted to investigate, the sort of mysterious nature of photographs and whether they existed or not. So what did I do before? Because I mean, I could go on forever about this, and you can sort of make links as we go along. So we need to go back further in time to do with 2008 to 2010, which was first and second year of my degree. So you've seen that I was interested in photographs and archiving and documentation of art, as art, and there was a lot of material, but my first interests were to do with abstraction and the relation of abstraction with poetry and colour. And this is one of the pieces of work that I made for a book project. Towards the end of the first term in my first year, it was a book project. We got told to just make a book. So my interest in poetry was pretty strong, and my interest in abstraction was strong, so I thought it was pretty, made sense. So I went through my favourite poets, J.D.Lawson was one of them, and I went taking photographs in the back alleys of Byker and Heaton. This is actually the back of someone's house, refrigerator just on the outside with lots of rubbish, and sort of reducing the forms into abstract shapes. And then I would take lines out of Philip Larkin poems. So this particular piece of work was tagged with the line, "For nothing would be easier than replacement." That sort of connection that you have with colour and language and what it actually meant. Did it make sense? That was up to the viewer. And so that would move on, and sort of do another one, and that would be called "To Drive the Shadows Back." This continued, this interest continued on. And then sort of got even more interested in what I was actually interested in terms of history. Not just me randomly taking photographs, me randomly reducing the forms and then attaching my favourite poems. It was more an investigation into history as well. So I was really interested in 1920s America and jazz culture and African American culture. And so for the foreseeable future, second year, I was really interested in squares, funnily enough. This is Sean Scully's Desert Night. And the quote from Plato's Philebus, sort of, I mean, should I read it? Should I?
Yes, because I can't see it.
Okie dokie, right, okay. I do not now intend by beauty of shapes what most people would expect, such as that of living creatures or pictures, but straight lines and curves, and the surfaces or solid forms produced out of these by lathes and rulers and squares. These things are not beautiful relatively,